So he used his thinking as the foundation. And then if you go even foundational than that, in order for us to even have a conversation, would you accept that you need to exist?
Yeah.
So you accept that you exist?
Yeah.
Do you accept that I exist?
I can't.
You can't?
I can't.
Okay.
I mean, like, my gut says yes, but I think rationally I can't.
You can't?
No.
Okay. So rationally you can't accept that anybody here exists?
No.
All right. So the only experience is your own experience?
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, yes.
For you. That's actually quite interesting. Do you believe that there is existence around you?
Yeah, I think you do exist. I think everyone does exist, but
that's fine.
I can't be positive.
No
I can't
problem.
be sure.
No problem. What would make you okay? Why are you unsure that I exist?
Because I only experience what I experience. Everything I experience, talking to you, comes through my lens, and so everything that I perceive is just me responding to the outside.
If I was to strike you, how would you interpret that?
How would I interpret it? What do you mean?
If I was to strike you, if I was to hit you, would you just carry on? Would you react? Would you try to confront me?
I'd probably be very puzzled and I'd leave.
Okay, let's just now here, this is a random situation. What I mean is, if anybody comes and strikes you in the street or something, what would you do? Would you acknowledge that that person has struck you? Would you go to the police? Tell me your cognitive next steps.
And I don't know if depending how I was struck. If it was severe, I'd
let's
go
just
to
say
the police.
bang.
If I was injured, I'd go to the police. If I wasn't, I'm probably just going to leave.
So if the police came to you, Pete, and then the police goes, who did it? And would it make sense for you, Pete, to go, who? What do you mean who?
Of course not. No, but I mean, yes, I exist in this world. What I'm saying is
no, you do, but me.
Of course.
Me, the one who struck you, because the policeman coming, him asking you and you responding to him. My question is, firstly, why would you respond to him? And secondly, why would you complain about me?
I don't even know if the question, me responding to him, I don't even know if the question he's asked me is real in the first place. So all of it is...
you called him, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But all of it is potentially a simulation. Like, all of it can be not real.
Yeah.
The only thing that can be real is what I perceive. That's the only thing I can be sure that is real.
Yes. But that's what I'm saying, Pete.
I don't necessarily think that is going to be the case. I expect that other people do exist and everyone has their own experience, but I just can't be positive of that.
You can't be positive. Okay, but that's what I'm saying, Pete, that when you're in a scenario in which you get hurt, you get injured, your cognitive abilities tell you, I need to call the ambulance, I need to ask for help.
Sure.
And in that situation, you do accept that people exist. You accept there is a van that ran you over.
I get up, I accept that the world in front of me exists to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way to exist within it.
So I think I know where you're going, and correct me if I'm wrong, science does this as well. It's called the inference to the best explanation.
Sure, yeah.
So when you look at the options that are around you, you say, you know what, that option means more than the other option.
Yeah.
So would you say that the existence of other people and things around you, they do exist according to the inference to the best explanation?
Sorry, I'm not quite sure if I follow. Essentially that...
So it means that there's options.
Of those two options, if I don't know, I choose to believe people exist or I choose to believe people don't exist.
So in terms...
I'm better off choosing that people exist.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is in your experience in life of things happening again and again and again and again, in terms of you hearing, you seeing, you smelling, you tasting, you using your rational faculties, on the one hand, the evidence points towards people exist.
Evidence definitely does point to people
and then on the other hand, you've got very minimal evidence, mostly to do with kind of, let's face it, philosophy, that tells you that there's a possibility they don't exist.
Sure.
So would you say the inference, it's just a technical term, which means it's the logical option?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely it is.
So then, following that trajectory, Pete, the fact that you see things around you and they exist, would you also say that things have, when you look at them, they have a design, they have order?
There is some order, there's order.
There is some order. Very good. Would you like me to elaborate a bit on this, or you're happy with this stance?
There's order. Yeah, there's order.
Okay, excellent.
It's not complete chaos, yeah.
Yeah, very good. So the fact that there is order, so we've acknowledged that there is existence, there is order, therefore, according to Aristotelian logic, therefore it assumes that there is an existence that preserves that order.
Sure.
Would you say that?
Not necessarily.
Go
Well,
ahead.
yeah, I don't know if I agree with the term existence, but something that preserves that order.
So I'll give you an example. So in a logical syllogism, you have two premises. For example, anyone who wears a gold watch is a nice person.
Sure.
Pete is wearing a gold watch,
Yeah.
therefore Pete is a nice person. There is existence, there is uniformity, regularity and stability. Therefore, there is an existence that explains that uniformity, regularity, stability.
Yes, there will be some sort of cause and effect for that result.
Very good.
Sure.
So now what we do is, Pete, we have a cause. We in agreement with that, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now that cause, do you think that cause could have emerged from nothing?
Yep,
You think that's possible?
possible.
Okay. So what is nothing in your understanding?
Nothing. Well, this is where I think this is the point where it becomes a concept that's really difficult for us to grasp because we don't have an experience with nothing. So we live in a world where something has to flow onto something else. We need cause and effect. It's the only way the world makes sense to us. But I think on this scale, we're talking about something that's so far beyond us and so far beyond our understanding. To try and explain how it's come into being, to be honest, I just don't think we can really comprehend it, and so I don't see the point.
So coming back to the point of nothing,
Yeah.
we don't want to go so far ahead. What we're doing at the moment is we're scaffolding.
Sure.
Yeah. So when we see nothing, and we're saying, would you agree that nothing, even when you explain to a child, when Pete, you go to the bank and they say you have nothing, your bank is empty, and then you go, nothing. We don't really know what nothing is. What I'm trying to say is, in our daily experience, nothing means an absence of something.
Sure.
Yeah. So something that doesn't exist, there's nothing there, and for something to pop into existence, Pete, would you and can you give me a single example in our daily life in which something can come from nothing?
Absolutely not. No, of course not.
Yeah. So would you say, Pete, from our understanding and from our observations from time immemorial, do you think it's safer to believe that things can come from nothing, or things can't come from nothing, they have to come from something?
I'd say most things, sure, yeah, most things have to
Come from something.
Yeah,
okay, good. Now, for you to create itself, does that make sense to you? Like a mother giving birth to herself?
Of course not. No, that doesn't make sense, but also we're talking about something that's so beyond our comprehension anyway that none of it makes sense.
What we're doing, Pete, is, I know what you're trying to do. You've got the God idea in your head, and any example that's given...
It's not about God. I'm not talking about God at all. I'm just talking about how it possibly might have come to being, not even to do with necessarily God, but just the concept that it is ingraspable. I believe it's ingraspable.
The thing in that case, Pete, is then if we look at the example I actually said was a mother giving birth to herself, then are you saying that
that's
is
fundamentally based in our world and in our reality that's
no problem.
entirely contained on this planet?
Yeah, no problem.
Which is not necessarily able to be extrapolated to the entirety of existence.
No problem. We don't have to extrapolate at the moment. What we can do just for now, Pete, is we can just look at our experience and we can just infer to the best explanation that we have. Yeah? So is it possible for a mother to give birth to herself? No. So for something to create itself doesn't rationally make sense to us.
No.
Okay. So now what I'm going to do, Pete, there is an existence. Yeah? Now I'm just going to delve a bit into philosophy. Stop me whenever you feel that there is, things are getting a bit hot. I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. So, me, I depend on something. That thing depends on something else. And then that thing depends on something else. Now, if that chain keeps going on and there is no first cause, I can't exist.
Yeah.
And the analogy I can give is that of me shooting. Actually, forget me shooting. Let's just say I throw something. Yeah, let's just keep it civil. So I throw something. But before I throw something, I have to ask his permission. He has to ask someone else's permission, and it goes ad infinitum for infinity. Will I ever get to throw that thing?
Yeah, sure, you get to throw it. Yeah.
Pay attention once more, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm asking his permission.
And it goes all the way back. Sure.
And it no, doesn't go back. Back infers that there's a stop.
Yeah.
It goes on for infinity.
Sure.
Permission.
Sure.
Permission.
Sure.
Will I get to throw that thing that's in my hand?
Yeah.
If I am constantly asking permission and that person's asking permission, then because no one has given permission, therefore it's not possible for me to be able to throw something, isn't it? Because
sure, if you haven't, yeah.
do you see? Because the chain carries on going. Now let me give you an example. I'll make it smaller. I ask you for permission. Can I throw this thing at him?
Yeah.
You go, let me ask him.
Yeah.
You then ask him. He then asks him. If he then opts to ask him, can you throw it?
Sorry, if he then opts to ask
Yeah,
someone
because
else,
all of these people carry on asking.
Yeah.
You haven't got an answer yet, so you can't throw it, isn't it?
Sure.
Yeah. Only when at the end of that chain somebody goes, hang on a minute, yes you can.
Yeah.
And then he passes
And then
it
it
back,
goes all the way back.
and
Okay.
then yeah. So the example that I'm trying to say, Pete, is it can't go on for infinity. Otherwise, you and me, we wouldn't exist. So in philosophy, we call it the infinite regress. For something to go on for infinity would presuppose that we can't exist, because the chain has to end for us to exist.
Yeah.
What's your career? What have you?
Hospitality.
Hospitality. So in mathematics, there's something called axioms. So mathematics is based upon axioms, and you can't actually prove axioms. In order to do maths, you have to rely on axioms. So similarly, for us to exist, we have to
I'll
rely.
stop you there. I'm really sorry, but I gotta go.
No problem. Can I just finish off like 1 minute? So the point that I was trying to say, Pete, was that when you go infinite regress, there is a necessary being.
Yeah.
So this is something that is accepted by philosophers, theologians and stuff like that. They call it the necessary being. Aristotle called it the first cause. Yeah, and then what we do, Pete, if we were able to continue, we'd say, okay, I accept that there is a first cause. Now, what sort of qualities would that first cause have? Okay, so before the first cause, there was no time, there was no space. He would have to be the first one. He would have to have will, have power. Then we look at something that's common within all religions, Pete. Yeah, so all religions claim that there is a prophet. Yeah, there are books.
Yep.
So the best inference, the best explanation, Pete, is we then investigate. We look at the criterion, and it would have been nice, and then we could have bounced off each other. That you say, okay, what's your criteria as a Muslim, and how does? And then you could have critiqued my ideas, and then we could have gone back and forth, because I would say that Islam offers the most comprehensive way of life. Not only is it a way of life, but evidentially, it's more sound than other religions. Your parents, would you say they're Christians or were they agnostics?
One's atheistic, one's Catholic.
One's Catholic. So for you, Pete, what evidence would you need for you to say here that, you know what, it's this evidence that I require to accept Islam? What would that criteria be?
To accept Islam?
Yes.
I have no idea, to be honest. I have honestly no idea.
If you were to give me a few criteria off the top of your head with the limited experience you've had in life and say, I can continue that list.
I would need to see something that I think that appears otherworldly and is bigger than myself, that shakes my belief to the world around me.
Interesting. Something visual.
It doesn't have to be visual necessarily.
So there's a wasp there. Maybe it doesn't exist. Oh, it's back again. Okay, so something visual, that's one criteria. Any others that you would think? It's really trying to get a message across to us, isn't it?
To be honest, I don't know.
Is it okay if I give you a few criteria?
Yeah.
So for me to believe in a God, if somebody was to say, hey, I'm a God, mate, look at me. I say, okay, there has to be one of you. Because if there's multiple gods, God by definition is the most kind, the most merciful, the most powerful. He's a superlative. He's the first. Yeah? So I would say the one. And I would say everlasting and eternal. Would you agree with that?
Sure. If you want one God, then yeah. I guess.
He has to be everlasting. He can't just die tomorrow.
Yeah.
He does not beget, nor is he begotten, i.e. he doesn't give birth, and nor was he given birth to. because giving birth is a weakness. You require a mother, a father, and that whole system.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
And there's none like him. For example, for me to create a microphone, I don't have to be similar to that microphone.
Yeah.
I can be different to that microphone.
Yeah.
What do you think about this criteria?
I've really got to go, man. I'm
Yeah?
sorry, I got to go. I got to
Okay,
go.
no problem,
Thank you
Pete.
for your time, man.
That was the criteria of Islam, by the way.
Yeah.
Those 4 lines. So just think of that.
Okay.
And if you ever want to come back, Pete,
Sure.
it'll be interesting to have
Yeah,
another
sure.
conversation.
Thank you very
Nice
much.
to meet you, my
Yeah,
friend.
you too.
Sorry, you want to take a picture with you?
Yes. Yeah, mashallah.
All our kids watch your videos.
Mashallah. Blessed family, mashallah.
Hello. Good. Fine. Good.
Likewise. How are you keeping?
I'm good. Ali Dawah before his debate. And,
Yes.
have you seen him and Ahmed Najam's reaction to Andrew Tate?
Yes.
What were your thoughts on the video?
So it was good.
They sound like a spamming for whatever, but it does make sense around like the male-female dynamics, like what our role in society, yeah, and what the Western society is like. Push it away.
Yeah, there's no good points and bad points. I think they got that across very well. Right? Yeah, sorry, bro. So, Dr. Abbas will be good for you. These 2 people have the scientific Wait. You don't exist. Yeah. You could say you don't exist. Nothing exists and you don't exist.